Today I'm going to be discussing a very different topic. A topic about which if you watch the video till its end, you're going to be very rich. Because we are talking about the concept of inheritance and how to evaluate it correctly. Or at least have a different understanding around this term inheritance or have an alternative perspective. Because the term inheritance occurs routinely in everybody's life. After all of us inherit something or the other. But I have found so many people waste a whole lot of productive energy when they don't understand this concept correctly. And if they were to apply that energy to their jobs and careers and professions and businesses, it would have been so much more effective and they would have been so much more successful. And that's why I thought it pays to have a perspective around this important word inheritance, which occurs in everybody's life and recurs routinely. And for those of you who are from the field of IT, we're not talking about any Java programming skills or something like that. We're talking of a straightforward English word, inheritance, or in Hindi or Sanskrit, what we call as virasat. Something that you receive as a beneficiary by the virtue of you being there, not because of your effort. You receive it just for being there for free. Some ancestral wealth or ancestral property or wealth from your parents, etc. House property, stocks, bonds, cash, jewelry, whatever. That's the inheritance that we are talking about. And not only are you going to be rich by the time you end up watching this video, you're also going to save a whole lot of productive energy. And I'll tell you that in just a bit. So welcome to another episode of Careertainment, and my name is Vikram Limsay. And thank you for sharing, subscribing and liking your favorite career resource channel for students, professional managers and entrepreneurs. Thank you once again. So like I said, you're also going to be saving a lot of productive energy because having an incorrect understanding of this term or concept of inheritance generates a lot of negativity. I have seen people spoil their entire lives because of this wrong understanding of the concept of inheritance. People have not taken up jobs or great opportunities or moved cities or even homes or colonies because they've got two eyes fixed on what they're going to get free as their inheritance. And they want to stake their claim throughout their life in the fear that somebody else should not impinge upon that or take it away from them. That's the kind of stupidity people do. Not just that, I've seen people spoil relationships with their parents, brothers, sisters, etc. And so much happens. Just because your eyes are always focused on what am I going to get for free. And they take it away from their own effort at building legacy. We call it, in Sanskrit, it is called Purusharth. So they forget doing their own Purusharth, their own effort in building their own legacy. And they're focused on staking their claim unhealthily on what they're supposed to get for free as an inheritance. And I think this whole thing happens because of an incorrect understanding of the concept of inheritance, some misconceptions. So that's what I'm going to talk about, and I hope that helps you. The first misconception around this term inheritance is that one tends to look at inheritance very unidimensionally. Only in the context of money, property, wealth, investments. It's just unidimensionally in the context of money. And it's not anybody's fault because there's this whole ecosystem built to look at inheritance from just that one dimension. There are investment managers dedicated to inheritance. There are inheritance advisors. There are inheritance laws in every government. In fact, most of the disputes that happen in courts are in relation to inheritance. It's just amazing. So there is this whole ecosystem which is looking at it unidimensionally. So it pushes you to look at inheritance in a unidimensional manner, just in the context of money or wealth. My suggestion to you and my request to you is to widen your horizon and look at inheritance in the context of a multidimensional approach. After all, it's not just money that you can inherit. You can inherit values, emotions, humility, friendship, whatever. Many things you can inherit from your family, from your ecosystem, extended ecosystem, which is not money. And that can add hugely to your own effort. You can inherit some skill. But what happens is you tend to just ignore that kind of inheritance and look at only money. And that's where things go wrong. So look at inheritance in a multidimensional manner. That's the first misconception that happens. The second misconception that I have seen happens is when you look at your inheritance from a negative perspective. And normally it's in the context of money. So I did not get that, I didn't get this. And when you think of anything from a negative context, then that drives you. You remember that example, that famous example of a saint telling somebody, all right, from tomorrow, don't think of a monkey on your back. And from that moment, the guy can't forget about a monkey on his back. So it's proven even psychologically that when you think of something negatively, then that drives you. So in the second misconception, if you're talking only about or thinking only about what you did not get, then you drive yourselves in getting just that and forget that your legacy could be somewhere else. Very important for you to understand. It's like I did not inherit the skills of playing football. So therefore I start going after it again and again, whereas my skill could have been playing cricket or something else. Point is, if you look at the negatives and let the negatives drive you, and especially in the context of money, then you're just going wrongly towards that. And that's the second misconception about money, about inheritance. The third misconception which often happens is even more drastic. When you get into a comparative mode, when you look at inheritance in contrast with somebody else's, what did that guy get? What did this guy get? What did that person get? And which you did not. Now that is even more drastic. Because when you start getting into the comparative mode, not only is the negative driving you, it also generates a lot of other unhealthy values like ego, jealousy, whatever, anger. Those are the kind of negatives which kind of come into your bosom and take away from your productive energy that you're supposed to apply to your job. And that's really drastic. So there are three general misconceptions about inheritance. First, looking at it only unidimensionally in the context of money. There are so many more dimensions. The second is looking at it from a negative perspective in terms of what you don't have and not about what you have. You have inherited so many things, but you look at only what you not inherited. And the third is getting into a comparative zone when in the context of inheritance. No two people are similar. Everybody's karma is different. Two fingers are not the same. So your inheritance will never match somebody else's. So it's futile comparing. So these are the three misconceptions about inheritance that I find people not understanding and having a lot of negativity. So what does one do? What do you do? My suggestion is, first is evaluate, sit down peacefully, meditate and evaluate what is your real inheritance. If it is money, fine. If it is not money, what is it? Is it some emotion? Is it some humility? Is it some asset? Is it some other skill set? Evaluate it correctly. Because if you evaluate your inheritance correctly in terms of what really have you inherited, then you can apply it positively and forget about what you did not get. Yeah, and then you start building your own legacy and not compare with anybody else, because then you can position yourselves uniquely. Because if you look at everybody inherits this, I also should inherit that, then you're not unique. You're positioning yourselves along with the masses. So if you really sit back and look at your inheritance in this perspective, you're not only going to be rich, you're also going to be able to position yourselves differently. And in the end, I have only one thing to say. Just don't focus unnecessary energy on your inheritance, but focus all that you have on building your own legacy. And inheritance, if you get any, that's a bonus. Treat it as a bonus. But don't treat it as some entitlement and waste your resources from creating your own legacy. And that's what is going to stand you in good stead. Until we meet again, cheers and bye.